their day about coming up here.
Okay,
Make sure. All right.
thanks, Cole.
Yeah, I'll try to keep it short.
Okay.
Look at MSU brought us
I mean, you're-
t-shirts today. You see that?
April, May, I have tried more life.
Right?
What?
Okay, everyone, it's 1 o'clock. I'm gonna call the Board of Commissioner meeting to order. Today, we're gonna have the prayer by Commissioner Sarkella and the pledge by Commissioner Lee.
Dear Lord, we thank you for this day and for the opportunity to gather in a free country and to serve our friends and neighbors. We ask you would be with us and allow us to make wise decisions on their behalf. And we also pray, Lord, for the family of Paul Muxlow, who passed away last week. Paul was a fabulous servant of the community, was on our Board of Commissioners for a term, and also served his constituents and his friends and neighbors in Brown City through various organizations. We ask that you would be with his family in their time of mourning and give them strength and comfort. In your son's name we pray. Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, everyone. Leslie, roll call, please.
District 1 Chairman John Block.
Present.
District 2 Commissioner Roger Ballard.
Here.
District 3 Commissioner Gary Heberling.
Here.
District 4 Commissioner Bill Sarkella.
Present.
District 5 Commissioner Christine Lee.
Present.
District 6 Commissioner Evans Ehart is absent. District 7 Commissioner John Moody.
Thank you, Leslie. Evans did let me know he wasn't gonna be here today. He's not feeling it. I do have one addition to the agenda. I would like to add Cole Wood for a legislative update directly underneath administrator's report. If there are no other amendments to the agenda or corrections, I'll entertain a motion to approve the agenda with the added amendment.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion to approve today's agenda with the added Colwood representing our U.S. Senate representative.
I support it.
I have a motion from Commissioner Heberling, supported by Commissioner Lee, to adopt the agenda with the one amendment. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signal by saying aye.
Right.
Opposed? Motion is carried. Agenda is adopted. At this time, I'll entertain a motion to approve our meeting minutes from February 20th.
So moved.
Support.
I have a motion from Commissioner Ballard, supported by Commissioner Sarkella. Is there discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signal by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Minutes are adopted. You received your correspondence from Jody through email the other day. We'll move directly into commissioner reports, and we will start with Commissioner Moody.
Just had Melvin last night. To discuss some road, you're gonna be doing some road improvements in town. Talked about finalizing their budget for the year. And they had a little issue with the new, they didn't have an issue. The state of Michigan issued the Melbourne Tavern a tavern license, which I guess is different than a liquor license. And then there was a issue with them serving alcohol on Sunday mornings before noon, which they bought the permit from the state of Michigan. It was approved 2 years ago, back when they opened up the business, but then when they decided, or the state of Michigan did an audit, realized that the village of Melvin has an ordinance against that. So there was a little bit of an issue there, but they got it taken care of last night, and the village council just rescinded the ordinance from 2011, I guess it was. So everything is good there. And that's all I had for that report.
Thank you, John. I have nothing to report today. Christine?
I was at the Village of Peck and they had a meeting and they're looking at a new equipment for their lagoon, an ultrasound device that records the flow of discharge. The supervisor is going to be taking a training. And that's it for them. And then I was at Elmer Township. And no, yeah, that was at, no, I'm sorry, Elmer Township. I didn't report on them yet. No, this is Elk Township. I got it under the wrong thing. They interviewed a new person for supervisor. They had 3 interviews and they appointed a new supervisor for their township. They talked about the summer tax and they talked about their doing a budget and they talked about ARPA being extended until 2025 now, the extra money. And that's it.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Christine. Bill?
Buell Township added GIS link to their website, so be easier for folks there to go right to that. Availability of the GIS link that is also on the county website. They approved a fire grant. And then also their brining and gravel contract for next year. I will say that Road Commission's been doing an excellent job of appearing at the meetings and giving everybody updates on what's been going on with the gravel and their road needs. Carsonville appointed a street administrator and they had some server issues that have been resolved. And then they also accepted their fire report and are looking for some funding for them as well. And that's all I have.
Thank you, Bill. Gary?
Because of a rain last night, I couldn't make the Sandusky City Council meeting, so I didn't miss that. Tonight I have Watertown Township and tomorrow night Moore Township. And then later on in the month, Custer Township. I would like to put a plug in if I could though for the Sheriff Department. Each year, it's become an annual banquet. They have the Reach the Forgotten Jail Ministry they put on and it's a great ministry within the jail. And I have to say that because my sister-in-law was part of that ministry, but that's coming up March 9th. April 9th, excuse me, at Countryside Free Methodist Church. And we usually have 250, 300 people there. It's a great asset for a community. So end of my report.
Thank you, Gary. Roger?
Last night I attended the city of Marlette's meeting. It was quite brief. They did, police chief reported that Officer Miller is back on duty. He suffered a concussion a couple of weeks ago while out on a domestic call, along with one of our county deputies. Person attempted to gouge his eye out. So, but he's been back to work. So they're both doing good now. They awarded a bid for their walking trail and some play equipment at the park in Marlette to LJ Construction. They got a grant for that project. I believe it was a Sparks grant. And they are beginning to hold discussion on how they're gonna financially handle aging infrastructure. They have concerns with water lines throughout the city. They've had numerous breaks and one of these days it's gonna probably hit us right in the water bill. So that's all I got.
Thank you, Roger. I appreciate everyone's commissioner reports. Nathan, your administrator report, please.
Yes, thank you. I had a follow-up meeting as I've been keeping you guys informed on the materials management planning. Sand Lake County met independently with Tuscola County. They did individual meetings. Tuscola County is kind of spearheading this collaboration. So we met with them, talked about what our collaboration would look like. And because obviously we're looking at Tuscola, Lapeer, Huron, and Sanilac being part of a regional materials management plan. I was glad to hear in talking to Tuscola, we'll be able to work with them, but remain independent because we in Sanilac County have our own recycling center. We have a landfill. So we're a little more self-sustaining than some of the other counties. We are, I guess, of the group, the only one who has both a landfill and a recycling center in their county. So they said, you know, they really don't see a need for Sanilac County to utilize the other counties a lot, and the other counties aren't expecting too much from Sanilac, but us being able to work with them, it'll allow for a regional plan that Tuscola is going to work on alongside us and put together, and we will receive additional funding for working alongside other counties on that project.
That additional funding is like 70,000 annually.
So every county is going to get 60,000, and then if you collaborate with another county, you get 70,000. So it's an additional $10,000
Okay.
Per year. We had a Brownfield committee meeting, which is good. That group is back up meeting. They're really looking to get their bylaws and policies updated and things in place so that I guess the residents of the county have a clear understanding of the Brownfield Committee, and there would be an application process, and then there would be an assessment process by the Brownfield Committee if as projects or requests come through. So they're kind of starting at the base level because there had been a period of, I think it had been a little greater than 5 years since the group had met. So that is the unfortunate thing with these committees. Unfortunately, if they're not regularly scheduled, sometimes things just kind of fall off a little bit. So they're setting regular meetings. They're trying to get things in place, and I think that'll be a valuable asset for the county moving forward.
So there's grant dollars available for them to apply to brownfields.
There are.
Getting them together in meeting, and we can put some of those dollars to use.
Mhm.
So that's great news, Nathan.
Nathan, is the purpose and the scope of this basically what John just said? It's 4 grants, 4 things, or is it? What's it all encompass?
So the Brown.
I want the people here to hear what it's.
So our local Brownfield Committee has some dollars that they can put in, and really the initial focus was contaminated sites, the cleanup of contaminated sites and the redevelopment of those. Like years ago, I believe Stonegate was one of those properties, and then as a site gets cleaned up and redeveloped, then there's a tax capture that can take place, which can replenish the brownfield funds, I guess, so they can then move some of those funds over time to other projects throughout the county. But there is also grants through the state of Michigan that the group can support, and money that can funnel through your local brownfield too for development. And they've recently expanded some of that, and that's what the group's exploring, is really what type of projects now they can take on. So they're looking to get that out too.
Because I know myself, city manager, and Carl Asantowski was telling, we attempted to do some things with the property south of Sandusky here, so maybe that money's opened back up.
Yeah, the tough part with that is if a property's owned by a landowner, there has to be a willingness, like you can't just go in and
Yeah.
do things independent of them. So I think that was the barrier there.
Also with that, it's gonna be for not just cleanups, but availability might be for additional housing as well. If the states relax some of the requirements on.
They have, yep, and that's some of the, there was a couple projects people brought forward that were exciting to hear, where people were looking at applying for some dollars for some housing projects, which is a statewide need and definitely a regional, local need for Sanilac County. So last thing I have, I attended our risk liability company, MMRMA, put on a workshop last week. There was some good information. They talked about cybersecurity, how to deal with protesters that sometimes come forward on public property. And they had another training on ways to value your staff. So things that were risk oriented, but things that can protect the county from any potential liability issues. So good insight. That's all I have.
Any questions for Nathan? Good report, Nathan. Thank you. Okay, at this time, Cole, if you'd come up, give us your legislative update.
I'll try to keep it kind of brief. Should help us. I only really have one thing to go over. The government shutdown and the appropriations. That's kind of what I wanted to focus on, just the process where that's at. So there's been a couple, I guess 3 extending resolutions, continuing resolutions, funding the government since October. There was one that just passed last day of February, extended it from March 1st to March 8th and March 22nd. They laddered it between certain agencies. But this week they finally dropped the last of the appropriation bills. So there's 12 separately that we're trying to get passed. The last 5 just got dropped and they should be getting voted on this week. I was just going to go over some of the details of each one real quick. So the last ones are the military VA, so like military construction, veteran affairs, agriculture, rural development and the FDA, commerce, justice, science, energy and water development, the interior and the environment, transportation, housing and urban development. So for the military and VA one, just some of the top line issues with it. It fully funds all the veteran healthcare in the VA. For the agriculture, rural development and FDA, there was a proposal for 4,700 new USDA workers full-time, but they were all supposed to be in DC at the headquarters. So in this, it was rejected that they were all going to be in DC, and the push is for county level administration. Rather than have everybody working for the USDA in DC, I'd rather see more people here in Sanilac County, Tuscola, Huron. I know how big of an issue staffing is there. I have friends that work in the USDA and NRCS, and they needed a lot more here than they do in DC. There's also a study of foreign ownership of US land. I know it's been a hot topic. So this is kind of the preliminary measure to see where exactly all the issues are, who's owning what, get exact numbers so we can better legislate something. Previously, we've tried to pass banning foreign adversaries from buying US farmland or US land overall. We couldn't seem to get that through. So this is kind of the preliminary step to highlight the issue and figure out where we can go from here. Regarding commerce, justice, and science, the FBI has a 6% cut, or $654 million. The ATF is cut by 7%, or $122 million. It does maintain the grants for local, county, and state law enforcement. I know that's a big issue, and it maintains those levels. It also increases some of the DEA funding for fentanyl prevention and incrimination enforcement. Sorry. Obviously, we know how big that issue is getting, and the DEA could use some more funds for that. It also prohibits the Department of Justice from targeting and investigating parents at local school board meetings. I believe it was last year, there was a memo published by the FBI saying that they were targeting parents speaking out at school board meetings as potential domestic terrorists, I think was the exact word. So this prohibits them from doing that, which is kind of insane to me that was allowed, but. For the energy and water development, a lot of the focus is on nuclear. So there's an increase in some of the nuclear power funding, and also reduces some of the red tape for domestic production for nuclear materials, nuclear power, and for domestic critical minerals. And this also relates back to the ag one because it would have been last year. Things like potash, nitrogen, those were designated critical minerals, which makes it a little bit easier to domestically produce them. So domestic production of fertilizer should increase as well. Regarding the interior environment, cut the EPA funding by 10% and the environmental justice budget by $275 million. And it also exempts farmers from greenhouse gas emission rules. And it also rejects some of Biden's oil and gas policies in favor of domestic production. Some of his policies were going to be more lenient on foreign production, and this just kind of helps push for more domestic production. Regarding transportation and housing and urban development, prohibits any of the funds from being used to require cameras. I know a lot of the self-driving cars, you have to have your face on a camera to be able to drive. So it prohibits requiring that, or requiring any government funds to be used for that. And it also prohibits any funding for electronic logging devices. I think it was in the Inflation Reduction Act. There was a $15 million pilot program that would have funded a study on how to basically tax people per mile that they log in their car instead of a gas tax. Ideally, I think the push for that is because of electric vehicles, because obviously they don't use gas, so they don't pay the same amount in taxes. But it's just not something that I don't think that anybody really wants the government watching every mile that they make. And also then, of course, that would increase the government to overlook how you're going to enforce that too. And then with Nate, just real quick on the animal control thing, I want to let you know, haven't found much on the federal side. It does look like you can apply for the CFPs if you do want to go that route. And I did alert Alexander's office as well, so he's looking into some state options. But I'm sure he'll get with you and try to figure that out. We talked about some animal control grant funding, the Brownfield meeting. Just want to follow up on that. Are there any questions on anything I went over or any other legislation?
I have a couple of questions, Cole. You talked about foreign ownership of farmland, and I realize you're in the early stages of it. And this is, I think, near and dear to everybody's heart that lives in America. So is there you think realistically there'd be any traction to this to change the laws? Because we just had a EV plant put over on the west side of the state in prime farm ground by our governor. Would that stop that? Is that what your intent is?
So there's been a couple of bills introduced. They haven't been able to pass for some reason. that would ban foreign adversaries from buying land. Lisa was co-sponsored on that one. There's also other bills going through. Lisa created the No Goshen Act, which would have prohibited any federal funding from going to like the Goshen plant or the Marshall plant or any, Chinese invested, I guess, what do you want to call them?
Yeah.
Electronic
All the way it
manufacturing
is, right?
facilities. I think there's definitely an appetite for it. I think that the House just needs to get through appropriations before we can start focusing on other things. Some people are trying to throw something like that into the farm bill, which isn't typically what it's used for. It's typically used for funding programs, not enforcement. So that might be an option, or maybe once the farm bill gets highlighted a bit more, once they drop the language, which should be coming. I know I've said this 100 times, but it should be coming this month, according to the Ag Committee. So once maybe more attention's on the farm bill, this is just me speculating. Once there's more attention on the farm bill and farm issues, that might become a bit more prevalent. If we can draw more attention to it, that could be a route. Does that help answer that?
Yeah, it is. And then I think the main thing I want to know if there was traction out around America. And the other question is, we all watch the news every night and we all hear all kinds of stories. Is there any hope that we're gonna do something with our border before election?
Yes, so I guess regarding the border, so the House and Senate have very different ways or very different ideas of how to address that.
I'm sure there is.
The House has passed a number of bills. The biggest one that the main focus is on is HR 2, Secure the Border Act. That one reinforces some of the previous administration's policies and also fully funds the border. DHS funds more agents, and it addresses it kind of in the biggest way. On the Senate side, they've been trying to tie border funding in with foreign aid to Ukraine, Israel, Gaza.
I did hear that.
And in the House, I'd say there's almost no chance that bill is going to get taken up in the House. The speaker has said he won't take it up. So until we can get either the Senate to agree to the HR 2 or to another similar bill, there won't be too much. I think I went over at the last meeting, the NDAA. So the National Defense Authorization Act, in that it fully funded the National Guard to go to the border. But of course, you have to have states that are willing to send the National Guard down there right now. I don't believe Michigan is one of those. So there's a couple different routes that they're trying to address it on. That's the only one that's working out so far, because that one didn't get signed into law, the National Defense Authorization Act. So right now, the National Guard is fully funded to go to the border and assist the DHS. But it still comes down to what policies are being implemented down there, as well as.
You could have 1 million border guards if it enforce it, right?
Yeah.
Thank you. I appreciate you.
There is some hope. It's just kind of a matter of what different route we can go down. And the Senate wants to keep passing so many things together at once. Like even with the appropriation bills, the House has passed 7 out of 12 individually. The Senate has passed 3 in one bill. And thus, so they just keep wanting to tie everything together, and that's not going to fly in the House, basically.
Thank you.
But I say always have hope.
Yep, always gotta have hope. Yep.
Any further questions for Cole?
I just wanted to touch base on the domestic increased fertilizer. Can we expect the prices then to subsequently go down compared to where we're at today?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay.
One of the issues specifically here in Michigan is this might be crossing my line a little bit. But on the state level, there's issues with permitting that large potash mine in the middle of the state. If that were to go up and running, I think it's been 3 or 4 years they were working on just permits. That would definitely bring at least potash down. But with these being designated as critical minerals, if it's a critical mineral, it's a lot easier to get permitting. So essentially, if all the critical mineral, all the things I mentioned about that, if those go through, then the federal will kind of override the state and it'll make that permitting a bit easier.
Okay.
Good.
Does that answer your question?
Yeah, I'm looking at, things like urea and all the other products as well.
Yeah, those are the same idea. On the critical mineral list, I forget what bill number, I'm sorry, off the
That's
top of my
fine.
head. But last year there was a bill passed that designated, urea, potash, monoammonium phosphate, diammonium phosphate, phosphorus. And basically all the fertilizers, as critical minerals. That makes the federal and state process or permitting process a lot easier.
Okay, thanks.
What,
In theory,
what's the timing kickoff for that cost reduction on that? Cause it's a big bill for farmers, you know that.
Oh, I know, it's been
Do you have
big
any
the past few
idea?
years. I don't have a good idea on the timeline because there's other actors like the administration keeps trying to fight on environmental acts like that. So they keep trying to fight domestic production of fertilizers, as well as oil and natural gas. I don't have a good guess on a timeline of when
I just want to
Go
go
down.
down. That's fine.
otherwise I'd be playing the market a little bit more.
Thank you.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I don't have there's still hope, but I don't have a good timeline for hope on that one. Any other questions?
Seeing none, we appreciate you being here today, Cole. And I really like the idea that you guys are reducing the funding of some of those acronym departments there in the federal government, so.
Yeah, it's definitely a step in the right direction, I think.
Very good, thank you.
Thank you.
At this time, I'm going to call for public comments pertaining to the agenda today. Are there any public comments pertaining to today's agenda? Seeing none, at this time, we're going to have a presentation, the 2023 Human Development Commission Annual Report. Christy Sutherland, welcome.
Good afternoon. Well, got my stuff all right. I do have a report for each of you.
Thank you, Christie.
Thank you for having me today. I know you have a full agenda, so I will try to keep it brief. I put together this report annually for Huron, Sanilac, and Tuscola counties because we are a senior service provider for those three counties. And as a lot of funding comes from your senior millage, I like to be able to present and kind of show you where that funding goes to work. So a couple things, if you open to the first page, our table of contents is also a good place to go as kind of what does HDC do specifically for older adults? So it's a table of contents, but it's also a place to look in case you're wondering what the heck we do. Couple things that we did in 2023 was senior seminars. We're actually looking to do some more again this year, but last year we did 3 different senior seminars. We had a total of about 75 people come to those seminars. I think we're still trying to get used to being out in public again. We focused on preventative health strategies. We worked with eHeart's pharmacy, and the pharmacist was willing to come in and do medication reviews. And so we worked with them on medication reviews. We had a sheriff, Sheriff Rich was there to do a nice presentation on medication safety within your home, like keeping drugs locked up, keeping things safe, not letting people come in and use the bathroom because they might go to your medicine cabinet, that kind of thing. And then he also did a drug take back there as well. So that was kind of a nice piece of our seminar. We also had some fire safety, banking safety, and nutrition education. So that's nice, a nice opportunity for seniors to get a bunch of information from us. The other thing we spent some time on in 23 was our caregivers. When I say caregiver, I don't mean paid in-home worker type caregivers. I'm talking about family caregivers, unpaid spouses, children, neighbors. They don't get a dime, but they spend a lot of time helping keep seniors in their homes. And we find a lot that they end up being the ones that end up passing away before their loved one because they're working themselves. to the brink of risking their own health. So we have a support group. But we also have some one-on-one support in the home, make sure they are taking time for themselves, trying to help them find resources, some respite care for their loved one, and really reminding them that they need to take some time for themselves as well. So, and then looking ahead, I like to always say what my hopes and dreams are for the next year to come. But looking ahead, we really want to sustain at this point. We are seeing a much increase in the needs of our seniors. I did write down some things from Meals on Wheels of America. US population age 65 and over grew 5 times faster than the total population in the last 100 years. So that was the 2020 census. But looking ahead, the number of Americans age 65 and older is projected to increase from 58 million in 2022 to 82 million by 2050. So right now, and then moving forward in the next 30 years, the population is older and it's only getting older. So right now, we're looking at just maintaining services and continuing to be able to provide services to help seniors stay in their home as they retire. So that's where we're at when I'm looking ahead, is what we need to do to shift and change and be able to keep providing what we are providing. If I move on to programming, the first program is our outreach. That's our first step to finding isolated seniors and helping them get in touch with services, not only with HDC, with what we provide at Human Development Commission, but we can provide information and referral to any service provider. If they're looking, we don't do anything with insurance. So if they're looking for information on what insurance they need, we can help them find the resources and connect people there. So we do outreach in a couple different ways. We do public presentations, we do canvassing out to the community, and then we do one-on-one information and referral. So a few different ways that we're able to do it that way. And if you look at your book in fiscal year 23, you can see that we far exceeded our goal, as well as much more than what we did in 2022 for outreach. So we are working on finding those isolated seniors that might not know what's available to them as well.
Is your staffing able to keep up with that increase of hours?
So far. We keep an eye on that, and then we're making sure that we're able to keep that at a level. I mean, we can pull back if we don't have the capacity to. We can pull back on some of those presentations and make sure that we're hitting people one-on-one. The next page, the next 2 pages are congregate meals and our senior center staffing. Those programs go hand in hand. The congregate meals are our meal sites. We've got one in at the high rise here in Sandusky. We have one at the Lions Club in Lexington, the VFW in Marlette, and then Deckerville at our central kitchen. And it used to be a bar. I can't think of the name of it. What is it? Champions. Champions, yes, it used to be Champions Bar. That's how everybody knows where it is. So along with that, we've introduced some activities to try to keep seniors more engaged. So the meals, the congregate meals provide socialization, healthy meal, but then the senior center staffing, we're doing a lot more activities. We really increased participation at all of our sites in 2023 because of the introduction of that senior center staffing. You can see we fell a little short of our hours there, but it was a new program and we're trying to figure out what we were doing a little bit there. So
Are these meals once a week, once a month?
they are mostly Monday through Thursday. Marlette's closed on Wednesday, but otherwise they're Monday through Thursday for the site.
For each site, like Marlette, for, okay.
How's the participation been at Lexington? Because I know that's still fairly new.
Lexington started off really great and it has slowed down a little bit. But we do have some snowbirds in that too. So, yep. Moving right along, our case coordination and delivered meals, those kind of go hand in hand too. Case coordination and support is where we have a staff person that goes out to homes of homebound seniors and does a full assessment. A first assessment can be 1.5, 2 hours, really getting into activities of daily living, what they are able to do, what they're not able to do. And then at the same time, trying to put resources in place to be able to help them stay in their home. A lot of times, when they're homebound like that, food is the #1 priority for us. We want to make sure that they're at least getting a nutritious meal. And so that's where the home delivered meals comes into play. We provide home delivered meals to homebound seniors over 60. Again, this is a big piece of where the senior millage money goes to, is the meals for our older adults and helping them stay in their homes. You can see this is 3 countywide, 210,000, almost 211,000 meals went out last year. We have 8 routes in Sanilac County that that have seniors that we have meals on. Volunteers help deliver the meals and get them to our seniors. And the key, another piece of that is that if they're not home, they're homebound, right? If they're not home, we're doing a follow-up. We're calling their loved one. Well, we call them first. Maybe they forgot to call, or maybe they were still asleep. But if we can't get in contact with them, we call a loved one to check on them. And if we can't get a hold of anybody, we do call central dispatch for a well visit, because they are supposed to be home. And unfortunately, sometimes they've passed away, and we're the reason that they're found, is because we were expecting them. So another kind of key point of our home delivered meal program. A couple facts on the back page there about home delivered meals. One of the ones I'm going to point out to you is that bottom one. Again, it's Meals on Wheels America. We can serve a senior for an entire year for roughly the same cost as a day in the hospital or 10 days in a nursing home. So when you're looking at where people, where your money is best spent, it's really to help people stay in the home. And that's where they want to be. 9 times out of 10, your seniors don't want to go to an assisted living or a nursing home. They want to stay at their home as long as possible. So moving right along, similar to home delivered meals, seniors need to get places. Even if they are homebound, sometimes they have doctor's appointments, sometimes they have to get to the pharmacy. So we do provide transportation. It can be through the bus system. We do some bus tickets with them. If they're over 60 and need some, we have in-town, out-of-town tickets. But we also provide one-on-one, door-to-door transportation, where we have volunteer drivers. They'll pick them up at their home, take them to a doctor's appointment, hospital, blood work, and then take them back home. Stop at the pharmacy on the way, that kind of thing. So we really went above and beyond, but again, that's because of the senior millage that we've been able to continue to do a little bit more than what we anticipate for transportation. Caregiver support. I know I already touched on caregiver a little bit. One thing I didn't talk about is part of that, we also have a kinship program for caregivers, where older adults, usually it's grandparents, are raising grandkids. We've worked on a support group, and we haven't been very successful because they're busy with little ones, but we do meet with kinship families one-on-one, and we have access to some funding to help with like school supplies or Christmas. And then we work with Region 7 annually on a special event, usually for them, for the kids, for the grandparents, and provide them with resources. It's a lot different for older adults raising kids now than it was when they were raising their own children. So screen time is one of the biggest things. How do I help potty train? So a lot of different things that we help them work through and work with on that. USDA supplemental food program, you probably are more familiar with that as commodity foods. We had to change the name of it. So you gotta love that, right? You change everything. Everybody knows it as commodity. It's USDA supplemental food program. And last year, our participation went up again. That's a bi-monthly food program for anybody over 60 with income qualifications. So our home delivered meals requires them to be homebound. We don't look at income. This one is an income-based program. So they get every other month a box of food. It's where you hear if people talk about the cheese, the government cheese program, that's where that comes from. But it is supplemental. So it's just a little bit extra to put in their pantry to get them through a couple months of food. And then our elder abuse, that has stayed pretty stable through the last couple of years. But that's where we help seniors that have been victimized. A lot of times seniors are, again, reliant upon family members, but those family members aren't the best people. They're taking advantage of them monetarily. They might be taking their drugs, and seniors rely on them to get from place to place. And so then they're not going to tell, they're not going to turn these things in. So our staff work on safety planning in case it's suspected or they're not ready to make a change, all the way up to working through the court system with them if they decide to press charges. So that's our elder abuse. And then our last program is our AmeriCorps Senior Program. We did have that through 2023. However, the funding for that has remained static, and we were not able to put together a balanced budget to be able to provide that program again in 24. So there is still a need for volunteers, doesn't eliminate that need. And it was very good programs, but we unfortunately were not able to maintain them with the amount of funding that was available for that. So that was my senior programs in a nutshell. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Could you maybe explain how someone could volunteer?
Yeah. So through Human Development Commission, we have an application process. We do background checks on our volunteers. So it's a quick 2-page application. We run a background check, and then we use volunteers for home delivered meals. We use it for the transportation program. We can use help at our food distributions, the USDA supplemental food distribution. We have help. We have a domestic violence shelter in Caro, as well as our food warehouse that we take volunteers at. So as long as we have good background checks, we're more than happy to take volunteers.
Thank you, Chrissy.
Thank you.
Christy, the congregate meals, is that income based in any way, or is that anybody that?
Anybody over 60, we do ask for a $3 donation, but it's not necessary.
Okay,
So overselling it.
excellent report.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Any further questions for Christy? We appreciate you being here today.
Thanks for your time.
Thanks. Thank you, Christy.
At this time, we'll have the 2023 MSU Extension Annual Report. Carly, welcome.
Getting all the annual reports today.
You got a hard one to follow now.
It's not as thank you professional.
Thank you, Carla.
This is a good segue because we do partner with HDC and senior services quite often. So I'm going to keep my portion pretty brief because we've got some co-presenters here today. So I'll just make a few points here on our 2023 annual report. So the numbers there on the left, the bottom side of that front page, there were almost 200 programs that Sanilac County residents attended and over 1,500 participants in those programs. So I just like to point those out because the numbers in the green box there on the right, those are specific to programs and participants held in the county. Whereas there were, as it says, 20 educators and specialists and instructors that reported data for Sanilac County this year. So we have, 6 staff housed right here in Sanilac County. But we have nearly or probably more than 20 that service the county residents here. So I'm going to kind of glaze over 4-H just because we have our 4-H coordinator here and she'll go into more detail about her programs from last year. We are pretty fortunate to have Jared Jaborik housed here in Sanilac County as well. So he's the only beef feedlot systems educator that we have. So he's got a statewide appointment, but we have a pretty big concentration of cattle beef farms here. So he focuses a lot of his efforts here in the county and surrounding areas.
Where is Jared? He's the man.
Yeah.
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 Yeah. Good guy.
Yep. So I'll let you read a little bit more about some of the different programs he's held here locally. Yeah, I'm sure you all remember Phil Cates. So him and Jenna Failer are part of our field crops team. So together, again, they're not housed here in Sanilac County, but they hold programs here all the time and in the surrounding area. So a lot of their workshops and programs that they hold, they offer credits for continuing education for producers and farmers to maintain some of those certifications that they need, like the RUP, restricted use pesticide training. So they have to maintain those credits to be able to do that. And a lot of their programs offer those for farmers. On the back side here, we did have for almost half of the year, we had a vacancy for a SNAP Ed community nutrition instructor. But in May of last year, we were able to onboard Mary Gilbert. So she focused most of her time in that late spring over the summer months on Senior Project Fresh. So that's something that we've partnered with MDHHS. We are the lead agency for that in 12 counties around the state, I believe, and Sanilac County is one of those. So Mary facilitated education to low-income seniors, as well as distributed 150 coupon books. So all of those seniors got dollars that they could spend at local farmers markets and roadside stands to buy fresh produce. A new program that we're really excited to be a part of is the Last Food Mile project. So Mary worked with the Thumb Food Policy Council to connect them with some local partners. And over the course of, it was really the later part of the summer into the fall months. So she helped them distribute, I have it somewhere here, over 8,400 pounds of fresh produce grown right here in Sanilac County. We partner with Green Valley Organics, which is an Amish cooperative farm in Marlette, I think it technically is, maybe closer to Brown City, but so that system works weekly. So they package everything in small 3-pound bags. We target seniors of low income as well as families of low income to bring that food, that fresh local produce, that last food mile to them. So we're breaking down that transportation barrier that we see a lot, especially in the rural areas of the Thumb. So they were able to distribute over 8,400 pounds of produce to about 200 people per week, just in Sanilac County. So we do plan to continue that partnership this next growing season and hopefully continue that. That was part of a federal grant through the USDA. We were a sub-recipient through Michigan Department of Education for that, so. We also continue to offer ServSafe programs and other food safety education programs. So Lori Messing, she's housed out of the Huron County office, but also serves Sanilac and Tuscola counties. So she continues to offer those manager certification classes. That is a requirement for all our restaurants and anyone who serves food to the public, so. So that's my very brief synopsis. Are there any questions before I turn things over to our 4-H coordinator?
I was looking at Mary's numbers. Mary, maybe I'm off base, but it looks like your program participants have risen. Is that true?
They have risen.
Yeah, that's good.
Previous years,
Yeah.
yes, yep.
Yeah, very good.
All right, so we do plan to come roughly quarterly. It's not working out exactly as quarterly, but regularly throughout the next year, just to give a little bit deeper dive into some of our programs, because this barely scratches the surface. So hearing it from the people who are actually here doing the work. So we do plan on doing that throughout the year. So we're starting with Mary, and she's got some testimonials from 4-H.
All right, well, thank you, Carly. All right, kids, how about we get up there and go to the podium, okay? This is the Howard family. They're one of my homeschool group families, and we meet every Monday at the Marlette Library. And we have 17 youth now participating that are homeschoolers that are now part of 4-H. So reaching out to the homeschool group is helping us get those kids that you don't see, they're not exposed to the things that public school kids have. So reaching out to the homeschool group has brought in more 4-Hers and getting them involved. Not everybody has to have an animal to be a part of 4-H, is that right? Yes. So why don't we say who we are? Let everybody know who you are. What's your name?
Melody,
Melody. Joel. Celeste. Arya. Which brother's name? Isaiah. All right, Isaiah doesn't say a whole lot, so, but he's intrigued with, he can see himself on the TV. So one of the things that we're doing in Marlette is reach out to the homeschool kids, but we also are doing embryology at the library. We started 2 Mondays ago. So we are raising chicken eggs in the incubator, and all the patrons of the library are checking out the progress of the chicken eggs. And we have an after-school program. The kids come in, and I have another 17 in that also that are from the Marlette School that come in and check out what's going on inside our eggs. And we're anticipating them all hatching. So let's find out if we've done everything right? Because it's science, right? Doesn't always go the way it's planned. So sometimes we have to go with the flow. So what else does 4-H do for you guys? What else are you doing in 4-H besides the homeschool group? What'd you do that summer? With Grandpa? At the shooting range? Archery? And BB gun. Yes, you did archery and BB gun. And what else? You participated in all our fun little workshops that we've had, right? And going on field trips and stuff with us. Yeah. Yeah. So we're trying to get more kids involved that are not necessarily the farm animal showing exhibitors, but that encompasses all of it. We also I have a homeschool group of 24 kids in Ottakass City. They're the Novista Church, they're a co-op. And so I have 24 kids that are learning robotics. So we have spheros that the kids are programming. They're little balls that they program to run around, do a maze, they talk, they blink. So the kids are really getting interaction with hands-on technology, what's up and coming now, but yet they're in a group, they're learning to communicate and get along. And so we're trying to reach out to more than just our traditional clubs that are meeting all the time. So is there any questions? No. All right. Thank you, guys. All right.
Thanks for coming. Appreciate you being here.
Did you want to talk about the spring?
Oh, the spring fair? Yeah, we can talk about the spring fair. Well, so spring fair is May 4th, which will be at the Sanilac County Dairy Barn Expo Building. And that is from 1 until 5 o'clock. And our theme this year is 4-H opens doors. And that is open to everyone. That's open to all the public. So you may come, bring your kids, bring your grandkids, bring your neighbors. We will be having a a forge there, so somebody who will be forging items. And also, if you know what that is, metal worker guy, yep. And then we also have a glass blower. So he's coming in doing demonstrations on glass blowing. So this is an opportunity for kids to show their still projects, which can be art, it could be music, it could be writing, it could be canning. It gives them an opportunity to show those to a judge prior to actual fair time. So it gives them feedback on what they can work on, what they need to improve upon to make it top notch. So
Mary, what was the date on that?
May 4th. That's at the Dairy Expo building from 1 to 5. And there's also a horse show going on then too. And, you know, we're starting to ramp up to summertime and show seasons are happening and things are shaking and moving, as you guys are well aware of. So, all right, thank you.
Thank you, Mary. Okay, that will conclude presentations today. I see no need for 13A or 13B or 14, so we're gonna move directly into general resolutions. We have a resolution today supporting laptop computers, mobile data terminal project. This is for the sheriff's department. Any particular commissioner would like to read this? Thank you, John. Thanks for coming to visit us today.
Whereas the Sanilac County Sheriff's Office is looking to purchase 36 laptop computers for the vehicles assigned to law enforcement personnel to administration, road patrol, detectives, and drug task force investigators, which will serve as a mobile data terminal in Sanilac County Sheriff's Office patrol units. And whereas each of these vehicles assigned to a sworn department personnel who takes the vehicle home as part of their personally assigned vehicle PAV program. The PAV program allows for personnel to respond from their home during off-duty times to assist with emergencies throughout the county, thus cutting response times and ensuring adequate emergency staffing needs. And whereas the equipment is essential for staff to effectively communicate, receive, dispatch calls, information, generate police and accident reports, have access to maps, data, run person through law enforcement information network, look up current Michigan traffic and criminal statute, process traffic tickets and more. Whereas the citizens of Sanilac County and the countless number of tourists who visit Sanilac County count on various resources and skills of local first responders to come to their aid in an event of emergency. Vehicles and equipment are essential part of ensuring law enforcement personnel can respond in a fast, effective, and safe manner to render law enforcement services to our citizens and visitors. And whereas Sanilac County is geographically the largest county in Michigan's Lower Peninsula and has a total area of 1,590 square miles, of which 936 square miles is land, 627 square miles is water. The Sanilac County Sheriff's Office serves a population of approximately 4,657 according to 2021 US Census, and a very large population increase along Lake Huron shoreline during the summer tourist season. Whereas this project will also be beneficial to other surrounding communities, the Sanilac County Sheriff's Office has a long, proud tradition of selfless service, not only to the citizens of Sanilac County, but the citizens of neighboring counties and across the state of Michigan. Therefore, let it be resolved, the Sanilac County Board of Commissioners hereby support and approve the participation in the USDA Rural Development Communities Facilities Loan and Grant Program for laptop computers, mobile data terminal project. Therefore, let it be resolved that this resolution be spread upon the proceedings of the Sanilac County Board of Commissioners this 5th day of March, 2024.
I have a resolution brought forward by Commissioner Moody. Is there support? Support. I have support from Commissioner Heberlein. Is there discussion? Hearing none, Leslie, roll call, please.
Commissioner Moody,
Yes.
Commissioner Heberling,
Yes.
Commissioner Sarcella,
Yes.
Commissioner Lee,
Yes.
Commissioner Ballard,
Yes.
Commissioner Black.
Yes. Resolution is adopted. Thank you, Leslie.
You're welcome.
That will conclude resolutions. At this time, we'll move into committee reports and we will start with Commissioner Ballard.
Oh. Had a CMH board meeting last Tuesday, mental health. They're having pretty good success at filling some vacancies. Employees. And the new building remodel is complete and they should be moving in. If not already, they're by mid-month.
And that's a facility that provides job opportunities for folks.
They actually work with, I don't think it's called pneumatics anymore, but, yeah, they have a couple of pieces of equipment of theirs in there that they co-produce with them.
Okay.
So it's a good program. Yep. And let's see, tonight I have parks. The maintenance building in Lexington, I believe they're gonna be wrapping that up today, the electrical on it, so that project should be done. We reviewed bids on the store and office project last week, and that's on the agenda on finance today for windows and siding over there. And let's see what else we have going, the sewer project up there at Evergreen. I just approved another pay request for that. That's nearing completion. They had good weather this month or this winter to get that done. And we are waiting on a permit from Eagle on the grant project with the kayak launch and the playground equipment and all that. So a lot of activity.
What's the ETA on getting that kayak launch installed, Roger? Is that something we would look to see happen this year?
Yeah, I hope to. Hope to.
Okay.
Yeah.
And is that something that'll be removed at the fall? Because that river swells quite substantially.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, it'll be taken out every year. That's all I have.
Thank you, Roger. Gary?
So as I serve on the Parks and Recreation Committee with Commissioner Ballard, my report would be exactly ditto. You've already heard it. He's done it better. End of my report.
Thank you, Gary.
I'm a little more hands-on.
Yeah, right, yeah. He did it better though.
Nice of you to do that, Gary.
Thanks. Appreciate that.
Transportation, we're waiting on the pilot bus is supposed to be here in March. It was supposed to be here theoretically last March. There's supposed to be three hospital buses coming this month as well. And we're still trying to pursue the transit vans. Just to give you an idea on those, their costs have gone from $57,000 to $90,000. But they're a lot more efficient as far as fuel use is concerned. They had a food drive through Eastern Michigan Food Bank recently, so that's kind of a neat thing where, because they come right through the building when the weather's inclement and still pick up their food. And then if you noticed in the MSU extension report on the last page, it sounded like transportation does move the food that they're talking about on their buses out of the Marlette area as well. So that's a good thing they're doing. One other thing we had discussion on was new tires versus retreads. Apparently, as these buses age, you gotta have new tires on them and tried retreads, but retreads seem to only be lasting for about 20,000 miles. A new tire lasts for 40. So the significance of cost savings is even though it seems cheaper to purchase price wise, the retreads, it's a lot more efficient from a dollar standpoint to have regular tires on there. Pension met last week. We appointed a new chairman. Tony Shaver has agreed to step up. That's something that has to be done annually. So usually it's just a rotation of the committee members that are willing to perform that function for that board. We went over reallocation recommendations from the advisor in regards to keeping it in line with the county policy. And then the attorney that represents us discussed having an electronic meeting policy. So there's new things coming out with that will allow them to meet, but it also has to be under the guidelines. So those have to be adopted into their bylaws. And then do you want me to touch base on DTE a little bit right now too? Sure. I have a minute for that. I've received some calls in the last several weeks in regards to a new DTE project that's running out of Carsonville and going north up Laurie to Snover and then Huron View subsequently. It's project 4105. It's going to be occurring in late 25-26. And the residents on the east north end of that, I have some strong concerns because they're going to essentially be coming through and eliminating the trees on their property to run these poles through. Similar poles to what are out on Old 51 without the arms, and some pretty significant environmental impact. So there's a lot of concern there as to how that's going on, looking at different routes potentially. So I put a call in to the road commission to start there, and their engineer, Adam Walsh, has gotten back to me several times. He's been very good about sharing information, how that all works. And actually, he had a meeting with their with the engineering firm, Burns and McDonald yesterday. I haven't heard exactly what the result of that was, but he had reached out to me again late last week to find out if there was anything else I wanted to say to them when he went to their meeting. And it's essentially, looking at how they can run this with the least impact. I mean, certainly there's a need for electric. One of the problems that comes forth with that is they try to avoid where Thumb Electric is. So they don't want to be running on the same routes that they're going through. I talked with the public relations person from DTE who takes care of the regional manager, Michael Sage. He was unaware of any complaints at their level at this point in time. And then he put me on to the lead engineer for Burns and McDonald. We had a long discussion there. They've never really had complaints on their projects, but she said that they were partially through having the tree agreements with coming through and clearing land, because they're not only do they have to have the right of way for the poles, they also need a 10-foot reach on tree clearance that'll also impact their property as well. So where we're at right now is the residents are going to be talking with the road commissioners on this, trying to find out a basis as to how to go forward. And then also reaching out to DTE and see if there's a potential for consideration of an alternative route, but whether or not that could be something that comes forth. So we move it from one road to the other, you're still gonna be cutting down somebody's trees is essentially what's gonna happen.
That one specific area of the county though is, it's about the nicest tree line
Yeah.
roads you're gonna find. It'd be a travesty to see that all cut out. Yeah, well, I'm glad that you dug into that a little bit, Bill, and well, I shouldn't say a little bit, extensively. In the road commission, they're the ones that deal with the right of way. So it'd ultimately be up to them to make a decision on what happens in the road right away.
Yeah, so as commissioners, it doesn't hurt to educate ourselves a little bit. And I even talked with Nathan about the process. And of course, I plan on monitoring it, at least moving forward. It does reach into your district as well to see how this is going to be handled moving forward, because they're indicating probably won't start breaking ground on it until 26, but it doesn't hurt now to have some discussion with them and let the residents know what their feelings are.
Right. Especially before all their plans are solidified.
That's all I have.
Thank you, Bill. Christine?
I went to the in-person local pipeline response training in Marysville, and Brown City had 9 firemen there and Elk had 3. I don't know about the other fire departments because I don't really know who their firemen are, but I went to this like 14 years ago, and in this building, they had the whole building. This time, only half the building was filled. And I did get a certificate of completion. I passed the test. And then just want to remind everybody, the Santa County Shop with a Hero comedy fundraiser is Saturday, March 16th at 8 p.m. Doors open at 7, and you can get your tickets at the sheriff's office. This is going to be replacing their bowl-a-thon that they usually have, that they're going to try this. So if anybody wants tickets or are interested.
Where's that at?
At the golf course.
Okay, thanks.
And so it should be a fun night, and the funds is to raise money to where they shop with the hero, the police and the firemen and stuff. And that's it.
Good. Thank you, Christine. I was on vacation, so I wasn't here for any meetings, so I don't have anything to report. John?
I had one, Michigan Department of Health and Human Services Medical Care Facility. I attended their board meeting. We're just looking to get some new software possibly for their payroll. I'm looking to hire a new physical therapist assistant, and they're averaging about 71 residents right now. And I have Michigan Works, Roger and I have Michigan Works on Friday. That's it.
Very good. Thank you, John. Appreciate everyone's committee reports. I see no need for unfinished business, so we're going to move directly into new business. And we're going to start out with FA 035-24, approval of 2024 current claims.
Santa County Board of Commissioners hereby approves the payment of current claims for 2024 identified on the accounts payable report dated February 27th, 2024 for the general bank accounts, the amount of $116,388.92.
Support.
I have a motion from Finance Chairman Sarcella, supported by Commissioner Ballard. Is there discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signal by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion is carried. Moving on to FA 036-24, budget amendments, adoptions, appropriations, and transfers.
Sand Lake County Board of Commissioners hereby approves the following amendments and establishes the following accounts as listed.
I have a motion from Finance Chairman Sarcella. Is there support?
Support.
Support from Commissioner Lee. Is there discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signal by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion is carried. Moving on to FA 037-24, adoption of cost allocation policy.
Sand Lake County Board of Commissioners hereby adopts the following cost allocation policy as listed.
Support.
I have a motion from Finance Chairman Sarcella, support from Commissioner Ballard. Is there discussion?
Mr. Chairman, I know you had made reference to Nathan in our last meeting, the work he's put into this, and it's been, I don't want to say the word long overdue, but we now have a policy, and I think it's going to work, and thank you, Nathan, for all, and I know you've already thanked him one time, but good job.
Appreciate it.
Well said, Gary. Thank you. Any further comment related to FA 037-24?
It's still gonna hurt when I do the budget.
But at least you'll know how much to budget, Roger.
Exactly. I can work with that.
I do think it is a very reasonable compromise. And
Yeah, it is. It is. Good job, man.
any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signal by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion is carried. Moving on to FA 038-24, approval of memorandum of understanding for reclassification assignment Sheriff's Office.
Sand Lake County Board of Commissioners hereby approves the memorandum of understanding between the County of Sand Lake County Sheriff's Office, and the Police Officer Labor Council for the purpose of reclassification assignment of the Sheriff's Office record clerk positions effective the first full pay preceding the approval of the Board of Commissioners. Support.
I have a motion from Finance Chairman Sarcella, support from Commissioner Moody. Is there discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signal by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion is carried. Moving on to FA 039-24, approval of memorandum of understanding for vacancy fulfillment, Sheriff's Office.
Sand Lake County Board of Commissioners hereby approve the following memorandum of understanding between Sand Lake County Board of Commissioners and the Sand Lake County Sheriff's Office for the purpose of expediting the filling of vacancies, and further authorizes the board chairman to sign the necessary document.
Support.
I have a motion from Finance Chairman Sarcella, support from Commissioner Lee. Is there discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signal by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion is carried. Moving on to FA 040-24, approval of memorandum of understanding for vacancy fulfillment recycling center.
Sand Lake County Board of Commissioners hereby approves the following memorandum of understanding between Sand Lake County Board of Commissioners and the Sand Lake County Recycling Center for the purpose of expediting the filling of vacancies at the recycling center, and further authorizes the board chairman to sign the necessary document.
Support.
I have a motion from Finance Chairman Sarcella, support from Commissioner Heberlein. Is there discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signal by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion is carried. Moving on to FA 041-24, approval of memorandum of understanding for vacancy fulfillment Parks Commission.
Sand Lake County Board of Commissioners hereby approve the following memorandum of understanding between Sand Lake County Board of Commissioners and the Sand Lake County Parks Commission for the purpose of expediting the filling of vacancies at the parks from April through October for all seasonal and full-time positions, and further authorizes the board chairman to sign the necessary document.
Support.
I have a motion from Commissioner Sarcella, support from Commissioner Ballard. Is there discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signal by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion is carried. Moving on to FA 042-24, authorization to post and fill vacancy, Prosecutor's Office.
Sand Lake County Board of Commissioners hereby authorizes the prosecutor to post and fill the assistant prosecutor vacancy at a pay grade 12.5.
Support.
I have a motion from Commissioner Sarcella, support from Commissioner Lee. Is there discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signal by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion is carried. Moving on to FA 043-24, award and authorization to purchase work crew dump trailer.
Sand Lake County Board of Commissioners hereby awards and authorizes Sorts Trailer Sales of Harbor Beach, Michigan, the bid for the purpose of purchasing a Triumph 7X14 galvanized dump trailer at a cost not to exceed $11,200 with funding of $6,000 from work crew donations along with $5,200 from the inmate commissary fund.
Support.
I have a motion from Commissioner Sarcella, support from Commissioner Moody for FA 043-24. Is there discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signal by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion is carried. Moving on to FA 044-24, award and authorization to purchase transport van, security and lighting.
Sand Lake County Board of Commissioners hereby awards and authorizes Arrowhead Upfitters Incorporated of Lapeer, Michigan, the bid for the purpose of installing security and lighting packages for 2 Ford Transit vans for inmate transportation at a cost not to exceed $15,912.20 with funding from the inmate commissary.
Support.
I have a motion from Finance Chairman Sarcella, support from Commissioner Lee for FA 044-24. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signal by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion is carried. Moving on to FA 045-24, authorization for boiler repair, Sheriff's Office.
Sand Lake County Board of Commissioners hereby authorizes the immediate repair of the jail boiler by Orton Refrigeration and Heating LLC at a cost not to exceed $16,745 with funding from the inmate commissary for immediate approval. Support.
I have a motion from Commissioner Sarcella, supported by Commissioner Heberlein. Is there discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signal by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion is carried. Moving on to FA 046-24, authorization for, I'm not gonna try to attempt to say that word.
Lieber.
Liebert?
Yeah.
Okay. Heating unit, we'll call it that, right?
Sand Lake County Board of Commissioners hereby authorizes the immediate repair by Thermolinetics for the jail's Liebert system ACCU-3 at a cost of $5,995. And further authorizes the purchase of an additional motor and fan blade at a cost of $1,000 for a total cost not to exceed $6,995 with funding from the Sheriff's Office budget for immediate approval.
I have a motion from Finance Chairman Sarcella. Is there support? Support from Commissioner Moody. Is there discussion?
Yeah, what, Nathan, maybe you know, what type of technology is this? Can this all be run from one computer from one room, the heating system?
It is.
Or is it, what's that?
There's the guy that would know right there.
Yeah, okay, yeah.
Yeah, all, the lieutenant mechanic would have the controls for all the rooftop units
Mhm.
and all that right from his computer.
Okay, that's the best way to have it, yeah. No.
Okay, any further discussion related to FA 046-24? Hearing none, all in favor signal by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion is carried. Moving on to FA 047-24, authorization to purchase vehicles, Sheriff's Office.
Sand Lake County Board of Commissioners hereby authorizes Berger Chevrolet of Grand Rapids, Michigan, the bid for the purpose of purchasing 2 2024 Chevrolet Tahoe 9C1 police package vehicles, model 6K 10706 four-wheel drive 5.3 V8 BBT to be assigned to the Uniform Services Division at a cost of $52,626 each for a total cost not to exceed $105,252 with funding from the Police Vehicle Fund.
I have a motion from Commissioner Sarcella, supported by Commissioner Ballard. Is there discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, signal by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion is carried. Moving on to FA 048-24, approval of the panic button software and Rave Mobile Safety Contract.
Sand Lake County Board of Commissioners hereby approves a 3-year renewal of the panic button software with Ray Mobile Safety at an annual cost of $8,670 with a total contract cost not to exceed $26,010 with funding from the 9/11 millage fund.
Support.
I have a motion from Commissioner Sarcella, supported by Commissioner Lee. Is there discussion?
Apparently, it seems to be working.
Yeah.
Yes, we've had a few, just been testing the
Yeah.
system.
Got one today.
Got
Yeah.
one today.
Yep.
Yep, we had a management team meeting, so we brought it in to test because we had an incident last week and it's just the unfamiliarity that people have with the system that we don't want to have. We want staff to be comfortable and confident with it in the event they do have to use it.
Okay. Leslie, I lost my place. Did I I have motion and support?
Yes, you do. Just moving on to yay or nay.
Any further discussion related to FA 048-24? Hearing none, all in favor, signal by saying aye.
Yay.
Opposed? Motion is carried.
She said yay or nay. I was just going by what she said. Yay.
I say yay, but you can say aye.
Right, I'm not burning on all cylinders here. Try not to confuse me. I'm gonna get.
Sorry, John.
I'm gonna get through this. Next up is FA 049-24, approval of 2024 agreements for remonumentation.
The San Luis County Board of Commissioners hereby approves the following 2024 contracts. John Militex for County Representative Services in the amount of $4,031.75 peer group. Ratification services with Wetzel Brown, total contract $936. For research survey and monumentation and peer group services, Tank Surveying LLC assigned 16 corners, total contract $20,480. Atlas Surveying assigned 16 corners, total contract $20,480. And John Militex assigned 15 corners, total contract $18,615, and further authorizes the board chairman to sign the necessary documentation.
I have a motion from Finance Chairman Sarcella. Is there support?
Support.
I have support from Commissioner Lee. Is there discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signal by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion is carried. Moving on to NFA 003-24, acceptance of the 2023 Human Development Commission Senior Services Annual Report.
San Luis County Board of Commissioners hereby accepts the 2023 Human Development Commission Senior Services Annual Report as presented.
Support.
I have a motion from Finance Chairman Sarcella, support from Commissioner Lee. Is there discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signal by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion is carried. Lastly, we have NFA 004-24, acceptance of the 2023 MSU Extension Annual Report.
San Luis County Board of Commissioners hereby accepts the 2023 MSU Extension Annual Report as presented. Support.
I have a motion from Finance Chairman Sarcella, support from Commissioner Heberlein. Is there discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signal by saying aye. Opposed? Motion is carried. That will conclude new business. I see we have some new faces in the crowd today, so I just want to cover. You didn't see the board have a lot of conversation or discussion during those motions. Everything that landed before the board today as an FA, which was the majority of it, was all discussed and went through the Finance Committee 2 weeks ago. So I'll make sure everybody knows that. With the conclusion of new business, I will call for general public comments. Do we have any general public comments today?
I had a quick question. Where did you say that DTE was going to put those lines?
Up Lori, crossing over, and north on here in Butte.
That'd be right in your neck of the woods, Dale.
So they're going through my district.
What I've seen.
Any further public comment today?
East. East Curtis.
Seeing none, there's no need for closed session or approval of closed session minutes. I'll entertain a motion to adjourn at 2:23.
I'll make that motion.
I have a motion from Commissioner Lee, support from Commissioner Ballard. All those in favor say aye.
Yay. Yay.
Yay. We are adjourned.
See what you started?